Hello, I'm Jessie, and welcome to the Happiness Hippie podcast. I want to open today with something that feels both familiar and uncomfortable. Most of us want to believe that things will work out if we stay hopeful, that time smooths everything over, that people grow just because enough time has passed, that effort guarantees success. These ideas are comforting. They help us cope with uncertainty. But they are not always true, and when we confuse comfort with truth, we slowly drift away from wisdom. The conversation we are having today is about seeing reality clearly, not cynically, not harshly, just honestly. It comes from a piece called Seeing Reality Clearly, Understanding the World as It Is, and it explores what happens when we stop mistaking hope for truth and start engaging with life as it actually unfolds. I'm here with the Happiness Hippie, and this feels like a conversation about maturity, courage, and what it really means to create space for happiness.
Thank you, Jessie. Great to be with you again. What you just described is something almost everyone struggles with, even if they do not realize. We are drawn to hope because it soothes us. It reassures us when the future feels uncertain. But hope becomes dangerous when it replaces perception. There's a difference between hoping for something while seeing reality clearly and hoping as a way to avoid what is already happening. Wisdom begins when we are willing to see the world as it is, not as we should wish it to be.
That idea connects directly to the Bertrand Russell quote you use early on. It feels timeless, but also very current.
Russell said that understanding the actual world as it is, not as we should wish it to be, is the beginning of wisdom. He wasn't calling for pessimism, he was calling for clarity. He also warned that fools and fanatics tend to be certain, while wiser people carry doubt. That doubt is not weakness, it's openness. It's the willingness to revise beliefs when reality contradicts them. When we resist seeing reality, we invite confusion and frustration. When we choose to see clearly, we open the door to peace, wisdom, and yes, even happiness.
I appreciate how you tie this back to the idea of creating space for happiness, because clarity is often framed as something cold or bleak.
That is a common misunderstanding. Clearing illusions does not create emptiness, it creates honesty. And honesty gives us room to build a life that actually works. Illusions take up space, they demand energy. They keep us stuck in patterns that don't align with how the world really functions. When those illusions fall away, we gain freedom.
You spend some time explaining why clarity is so difficult for humans in the first place, and that part felt important because it removes some of the shame.
Humans aren't designed to see clearly. We are designed to survive. Our brains look for patterns, protect the ego, and avoid discomfort. Those instincts have kept us alive. They also distort perception. Cognitive biases shape how we interpret everything. Confirmation bias pushes us to seek information that supports what we already believe. Optimism bias leads us to underestimate risk. Pessimism bias can push us towards excessive fear. These shortcuts simplify the world, but they also blind us to complexity.
And then there's the emotional side of it, which feels just as powerful.
Very much so. We often lie to ourselves because the truth feels painful. We tell ourselves a relationship will change, that a workplace respects us, or that next year will be different without doing anything differently. These stories reduce anxiety in the short term, but they become traps over time. Then there are cultural myths, the belief that effort always leads to reward, that everyone gets what they deserve, that success is purely a matter of willpower. These narratives are motivating, but they're not always accurate. Not every business survives, not every relationship lasts, not every hard-working person succeeds. Ignoring that reality doesn't make life fairer, it makes us less prepared.
And when we live inside those illusions for too long, there are consequences.
There are. On a personal level, illusions cost us time and energy. We remain in situations that no longer serve us because we are waiting for something to change on its own. We overlook warning signs because acknowledging them would require action. On a societal level, illusions create far greater harm. Denial around climate change, extreme political beliefs, and financial bubbles often grow from wishful thinking. People cling to simplified stories as reality shifts beneath them. Russell warned that certainty is dangerous. Wisdom carries humility. It observes before acting. That approach may seem less dramatic, but it is far more sustainable.
That humility seems central to what you are proposing here, not knowing everything, but staying responsive.
Exactly. Seeing reality clearly is not a single moment of insight. It is a skill, one that develops through practice. The first practice is training what I call the reality muscle. One way to do this is through negative visualization, a stoic exercise. You imagine the loss of something you value, not to create fear, but to build emotional preparedness. Considering the possibility of loss helps us stop taking things for granted. Another practice is seeking disconfirming evidence. That means intentionally looking for information that challenges your beliefs. Most people avoid this, but doing it regularly builds adaptability and reduces the shock when reality changes. A simple daily habit can also help. At the end of the day, ask yourself what assumptions you made and whether they were accurate. Over time, this sharpens awareness.
I like that these are not abstract ideas. They are very grounded ways of engaging with life.
That is so important, Jesse. Clarity has to be lived, not admired, which brings us to adopting a scientist's mindset. Scientists do not fall in love with their hypotheses. They test them and revise them. You can approach your beliefs the same way. Separate facts from feelings. A fear is not automatically a fact, and the hope is not a guarantee. When new information appears, update your understanding. Changing your mind is not betrayal, it is growth.
That idea alone could relieve a lot of internal pressure for people.
It can, and it pairs well with the next practice, which is studying systems instead of stories. We are drawn to anecdotes. We love personal examples. Someone succeeded against the odds, so we assume anyone can. These stories are emotionally powerful, but they rarely show the full picture. Systems thinking asks deeper questions. Why do some people remain in poverty? What roles do education, health, opportunity, and history play? Patterns matter more than isolated examples. Understanding systems doesn't remove responsibility, it adds context, and context leads to wiser decisions.
You also bring in Stoic philosophy again with amor fati, which feels like an emotional anchor.
Amor fati means loving fate, not because everything that happens is pleasant, but because resisting what already occurred wastes energy. Acceptance doesn't mean approval. It means acknowledging reality so you can respond with intention instead of reaction. When you stop fighting what is, you free up space for better choices. This mindset supports inner peace, which is one of the foundations of happiness.
And then there's history, which feels especially relevant right now.
History shows us what actually happened, not what we wished had happened. Patterns repeat. Empires rise and fall. Markets expand and collapse. Social change builds slowly, then accelerates. Studying history teaches humility. It reminds us that we are not immune to the same dynamics that shape the past. That awareness makes us wiser and more grounded.
There's a section where you talk about the fear that clarity will make people unhappy, and I think that fear is very real.
Many people believe illusions are softer than truth, but illusions collapse eventually. Reality may include loss and limitation, but it also includes agency, beauty, and connection. When you accept the whole picture, you stop chasing fantasies and start building a life grounded in what works. You can love someone while seeing their flaws. You can strive for justice while accepting limits. You can face your shortcomings without losing your sense of worth. Clarity does not destroy happiness. It creates space for it.
You also include practical exercises toward the end, which help translate insight into action. What I appreciated was that they are simple enough to use in everyday life, not just ideas to agree with.
That was intentional. A reality check journal is a short daily practice where you write down one assumption you made during the day and then ask whether it was actually true. Over time, this builds awareness of how often we fill in gaps without evidence. The 5 whys technique works by taking a problem and asking why it happened, then asking why again, repeating the question until you reach the underlying cause rather than stopping at the first explanation. It helps you move past surface stories into deeper understanding. The conversation challenge asks you to speak with someone who sees the world differently, not to debate or convince them, but to listen and ask sincere questions. This stretches perspective and weakens the grip of mental echo chambers. And the curiosity walk is a simple practice of walking with the intention to notice rather than assume. You observe details, ask questions about what you see, and let yourself stay curious about the environment instead of moving through it on autopilot. Together, these practices train the habit of seeing what is actually there, rather than projecting what we expect to see.
As you move into the conclusion, the tone shifts toward empowerment rather than warning.
Because clarity restores power. When we avoid reality, we repeat mistakes and build fragile plans. When we see clearly, we act with intention. Wisdom begins with doubt, with questioning assumptions, with the courage to admit error. These are strengths, not weaknesses. If you want to create space for happiness, start by clearing the fog. Let go of what was never true. Embrace what is. Then choose your next step from that place.
I want to reflect on something here because this feels like a practical invitation rather than a philosophical one. For those listening, this is not about becoming harder or less hopeful. It is about becoming more grounded. This week, choosing one area of life to look at honestly without fear or fantasy can be enough. Asking what is really happening and then asking what a wise next step might be. For those who want more perspective, grounding, and reflection around these ideas, a place to begin is the Start Here page at happinesshippie.com. And please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for walking with us today. Trust the process, make some space, and we'll talk again soon.